一
Hello, student. We are back. In our second lecture, we just mentioned in human history, there are two big World War I and World War II. And after these two big World War, the idea to a war, it was changed. And now most people, at least most country, because of the experience of getting involved in World War, so they try to take part into war or try not to use armed forces when they have dispute with other country.
So towards the end of the Second World War, actually the first lady of the United States then, Eleanor Roosevelt, she started a declaration of human rights, and she also contributed to the founding of the United Nations. So after the Second World War, actually, well, we are trying to get the idea that every nation or every country in the world should join the huge community called United Nations. So people would not get involved in war, or each country would not declare war against another country. So that's the ideal. But the fact was, actually, there was great tension between United States and the Soviet Union then. So actually, most part of the war divided into two parts. We call that the First World and the Second World, referring to those who believe in democracy as the First World, and those who believe in communism as the Second World. So we also get other kind of alliance as a part of for the First World, like the NATO we mentioned in our conversation.
Yeah, as Jeannie mentioned, war actually didn't end after World War II, because after World War II, in human history, we started a very long period called Cold War, and people use race try to deterrence other country, but they didn't declare war. However, now is the time we call post-Cold War. So still, there are the country who joined the Soviet Union or who believe in communism still have this kind of Cold War to other countries that in the First World country.
So after the Second World War, actually we can see the powers from the United States and also from the Soviet Union, now Russia, behind some other countries. They are trying to declare their independence. So we can see their powers behind the war in Vietnam, and also the war in Korea, and also in other parts of the world as well. So as I mentioned, those huge countries would not like to set off nuclear weapon or other harmful weapons. But on the other hand, there are some newly independent countries, they just declare their independence, would like to develop nuclear weapon to prove that they can defend themselves, and also they're wanting to get more attention or assistance from those powerful countries. So actually, we probably heard about there are some missiles or nuclear weapons experiments in North Korea at this moment. So North Korea is keeping this kind of mindset, trying to make their declaration to the world that do not neglect us. We are a powerful country, and you should keep your assistance or other kinds of resources or helps to this country. So before North Korea, actually there are other countries like India or Pakistan or even Taiwan, we attempt to develop nuclear weapon. Of course, some of these countries, they fear that China or Russia or other more powerful countries would take their lands or territories. So they consider developing nuclear weapon is a kind of method to be self-defensive. That's their ideas.
Yeah. Thank you, Ginny, for mentioning the example of North Korea. Because in our reading, the author also mentioned the idea for some of the country, if they want to remain in status quo, they will use another way, like develop nuclear weapons to become another major power, so that other country would not attack them. However, this kind of decision may make the other country around them feel or actually
uneasy?
Uneasy because
or afraid.
Like North Korea now, they have a lot of experiment in missile, and that will lead to their neighbor country
feel uneasy.
Uneasy.
Particularly like other countries in Asia, like Japan or even us in Taiwan will
or
feel
China.
uneasy about
Yeah.
whether they will launch the missile or
Yeah.
not. And you probably heard about news. There was a false alarm in Hawaii that's in the United States saying, okay, there was a missile issued, right? And they should get hides beneath the land or hides into other buildings to save their lives. And according to the news, right, those tourists or Americans in Hawaii were really afraid because it's really long before last time there was a war or there was a harmful weapon target at Americans' land. So they feel uneasy about this.
So except from this kind of nuclear weapon, for a modern country, some of them they choose not to use this kind of military weapon. They choose to use other kind of tool like economic sanction. Like for example, to the North Korea, America now started sanction, and also for the Soviet Union, a lot of countries will also choose to use this kind of economic sanction.
So for North Korea, so those countries who decided to take sanctions against North Korea already declared that they will stop the oil supply to North Korea, and North Korea is also lack of food, so they will cut the food supply to North Korea, which would be really problematic for people in North Korea as well. And now with the new president of the United States, he may have different thoughts about how to take measures or doing sanctions against other countries. So the current president, Mr. Trump, already declared he will start a sanction against Russia. So actually the United States is now competing with Russia about gas supply in Europe. So those will be different ways to start a war. So now it's on economics or other methods to start a war. So the two strong power are remaining competing for their stance in the world, trying to see who or which side is getting the upper hand. So I think the situation now is not different from the Cold War
or the war time.
Before.
So
I guess that's the end of our third section. So we had some really interesting discussions regarding different kinds of wars.
So again, we have two questions for you. My question is, in our third lecture, Ginny mentioned after the Second World War, the First Lady of the United States started or found unit. What's the name of that unit? What's the name of that organization?
So my second question would be, so now different countries are taking different measures trying to stop North Korea's actions of developing nuclear weapon. So what are the possible measures or the possible sanctions that other countries will take? So, see you next time.